Hi, and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. I'm Marisol Diaz, Communications and Digital Manager. Give me a moment while I welcome our Spanish-speaking residents. Buenas tardes, gracias por estar con nosotros hoy en 3 en punto con SOC. Si quieren oír este programa en español, favor de marcar el número que aparece en la pantalla, que es 646-749-3122, y la contraseña para entrar es 779-328-221. And just a reminder that you can access this show and previous shows on our Facebook page in the videos area and on YouTube. Now I'll pass it over to our moderator of the day, who will introduce today's topic.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. My name is Marlene Zaran, and I'm here today as the COVID-19 project coordinator and the forum coordinator. So I just want to let everyone know that our staff and our platforms are available to you still, but virtually. So you can give us a call. You can give the Southside Organizing Center a call at 414-672-8090. You can also email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org. And you can also check out our website at www.socmilwaukee.org. So you can get all of your voting, census, and COVID-19 updates and resources available to you in Milwaukee. So that being said, I want everyone, if they could, to complete our SOC survey. So our SOC survey allows us to get feedback from our viewers and to better understand what topics they would like to see on the forum and what other resources that they would like us to share. So that being said, I want to just say that all of SOC staff is working virtually from home. And that is why you see me not wearing a mask. If I were to be in the SOC office around other coworkers, I would be wearing a mask, of course. So just quickly, we'd like to kind of know who is exactly here and who's currently watching the forum. If you could please just go in the comment section of our Facebook page and say hello, put in an emoji, your favorite emoji. We just kind of want to see who our dedicated viewers are. And that way, in the future, you guys could possibly get different prizes for participating with SOC all the time. Just a disclaimer that the views and opinions shared today do not necessarily reflect those of SOC. That is just something we have to say on the forum in case anything very controversial appears. So today is the COVID-19 day, and I have a special feature for you guys today. Her name is Venetia Newman. I hope I did not butcher that. I'm sorry. She is the Community Outreach Specialist and Suicide Prevention Trainer from the Office of Violence Prevention at the Milwaukee Public Health Department. So she's going to be our guest for today. I'm very excited to talk about suicide prevention with her in Milwaukee. But before we get started on that, just a quick review of the rest of the week. So tomorrow, for Friday, we have Ches Ordonez. He is from the City of Milwaukee Equal Rights Commission. So look forward to that and having him on. And today we're going to focus on suicide prevention in Milwaukee. So if I can have Venetia Newman come on our show, that would be great. Hello, Venetia. Am I saying that right? I'm so sorry if I'm not.
That's okay. It's Venetia.
Venetia. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's very pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So today we're going to talk about suicide prevention in Milwaukee. I want you to quickly, this is a very heavy topic for a lot of people, especially for those in the community that have had friends and family members that have passed away due to suicide. But quickly, I want you to kind of introduce yourself and your role with the Office of of violence prevention.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Vanisha Kendrick, and I serve as the community outreach specialist with the Office of Violence Prevention within the City of Milwaukee Health Department. My focus is adolescent suicide. So I have the opportunity of going into the community right now. Of course, being in a virtual space, a lot of the discussions or a lot of the trainings that are taking place are being done virtually. But I do have that opportunity of talking about a very delicate subject, and this is a topic that not too many people may feel comfortable talking about, but that's okay. I don't mind being the conversation starter. So that is a part of what I do within the community and just within the job itself.
Thank you so much. Yeah, exactly. And that's essentially what SOC aims to do as well. We want to bring light to these hard and harsh conversations that a lot of us would want to avoid, but it's very important to know even the basics of this type of public health issue in order to help prevent it from happening in the future. And maybe to even, like you guys watching right now, you can learn all of the different signs of what to expect from someone that is having suicide thoughts or would want to commit suicide. So if you can pinpoint those kinds of attributes in someone and you're kind of noticing these different traits, you can do something about it before something
Mhm.
drastic happens. So before we get into all of that, what is suicide prevention?
So I'm going to give you a definition, that was provided by the National Institute of Mental Health, and we'll go from there. So NIMH, pretty much mentions that suicide prevention is a collection of efforts, to reduce the risk of suicide. So these efforts can occur at an individual, relationship, community, and society level. And it's said that suicide is often preventable. So just pretty much taking all of that, summing it up, what we're saying is suicide prevention is just that. It's methods, tools, and resources used to prevent suicide.
Of course. And what can you say about suicide prevention in regards to, because you just said adolescence, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
how do you how do you explain suicide prevention to an adolescent individual?
That's a very, very good question. The conversations that I have with young people, they can vary a little different between talking with a youth and talking with an adult.
Mhm.
And it's really, taking the pomp and circumstance out of a conversation and bringing it to a level that they can understand.
Mhm.
And it's amazing that even based upon how that conversation can take place, it's alarming to know what our youth are dealing with. It's alarming to recognize that they are being faced with so many situations and so many things that are that's going on in their lives, and really not having an understanding of how to face those challenges. So having that conversation really, first of all, it allows them to open up, and
Mhm.
it lets them know, hey, this person cares about what I'm going through, and they're being here, they're talking to me, and allowing them to let their guard down, to have a conversation and be open and honest.
Of course. What is the difference between suicide ideation and attempting
Mhm,
suicide? These are two different vocabulary words that are
mhm.
kind of thrown around sometimes within
Sure.
conversation. But
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, what do they each mean?
Sure. When we're looking at suicidal ideation, excuse me, I'm sorry, suicidal ideation pretty much just deals with the thought, what a person is thinking about in regards to suicide. Am I going to do it? And just thinking about, just internalizing some things for themselves. But when you're looking at an attempt, you're looking at the follow through. You
Mhm.
know, you're looking at someone that's actually considering following through with what, you know, even though they may have had that ideation, but now they're taking it a step further into actually attempting or following through with, you know, whatever their plan may be.
Mhm. Yeah. So and then attempt is following through, correct?
Mhm.
Um, what are the most common ways that adolescents or adults, from what
Mhm.
you've seen and what you've learned about, what are the most common ways that someone would follow
Mhm.
through?
Mhm. Mhm. The most common is by firearms, you know, by firearms and then by hanging. You know, that's another method. But I will say, when it comes down to firearms, that is one reason why, you know, it's very important to practice gun safety, you know, to recognize gun safety, to recognize how to properly, you know, store a gun.
Mhm,
And so one thing that we do have, you know, we do make sure that we have gun locks on hand for those in the community that may need that, so that may need a gun lock so they can properly store you know, their firearm away safely, and so it doesn't harm anyone. But you know, actually firearms happens to be the most common method of
mhm.
use. Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense since, you know, gun violence is very high in Milwaukee right now, and,
Yes.
you know, especially with, like, the, you know, you know, there's no ban on guns and there's all that. We can talk about that another time, but another conversation to have. So
Hmm.
is there a difference in suicide rates between men and women?
Yes, actually there is. You know, when we're looking at the rates, normally, and this is pretty much just a nationwide figure per se, or a nationwide statement based upon the data, you know, pretty much you're looking at middle-aged white men as being the ones that are dying by suicide most often.
Mm,
But, you know, the rates, when we're looking at what's going on in communities of color, when we're looking at what's going on in the African American community, when we're looking at what's going on just in general, you know, those rates are going up in Black and Brown communities. You
mhm,
know, so we have to make sure that we're having conversations around suicide in general. You
mhm,
know, there's so much of a stigma that's in place in some of our households where, you know, the conversation may be, well, we don't talk about suicide here, you know, because there may be a fear, number one, of someone not being well versed or knowledgeable in the conversation and not knowing where it's going to lead, or number two, having that fear of what we call contagion. You know, that someone will hear about, or hear about suicide, and then it becomes contagious. You know, then that person may possibly consider to take their life. So we have to understand that regardless of what the data shows, this conversation is important and it's needed in every single household.
yeah, of course, I totally agree with you on that. Coming from a immigrant background myself, I know that speaking about suicide or even at, like, bringing it up in conversation, is very frowned upon. There's a huge
Mhm.
stigma talking about it because, for a lot of the Middle Eastern population, it's more about, God can save you, you know, and I believe
Mhm. Mhm.
a concept that's within a lot of our communities, you know, like, you know, there's that conception that if you pray and do all that, then you should be fine. You shouldn't have these types of um,
Mhm.
you know, um,
Right.
but that's not the case all of the time, you know.
Mhm.
Suicide is something that is internal, it's a mental health condition, and a lot of individuals don't look at mental health as a disease. It's more looked at
Mhm.
as something that you can change the next day, you know.
Mhm.
It should
Mhm.
be taken as, you know, this is a problem. The same way you have a problem with a kidney or a liver, you go to the doctor to get it checked. You have to kind of do the same thing for your mental health. Um,
Agreed.
Yeah. And I come from the Middle Eastern background. We have done some research about the Latinx population, and that there are some different statistics regarding um, the women and men who commit suicide in the Latinx population. Um,
Mhm.
and that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that it was Latinx men are more prone to commit suicide than Latinx women, because Latinx women have they have this idea that they can't leave because they have a family that relies on them. You know, there's
Mhm.
a lot of immigrant families. It's very we're very family oriented, and so
Mhm.
even the Black and African American population, very family oriented, very together in community, and so a lot of people rely on women more than the men. You know, so
Mhm.
uh, there's that. So I don't know if you have anything to add on to that. I just love.
No, no, that's you hit the nail on the head. You made that statement so clear and so profound. And and being in a community where, and I'll just speak for myself as being a Black woman, and realizing that, how I was raised with a sense of independence, and I was raised with making sure that as a woman that I took care of my family, and so that's just something that I would say, and this is just my personal opinion and my personal belief, that's something that flows within my DNA. So the when it comes down to being that, even though I recognize, having that home, and, having a husband and having a daughter, that my husband is, technically the provider, but as the woman of the house, the woman is there to try to hold everything together. She's the glue that holds everything together. And that's one thing that many of us are, that's how we look at things within our lives. We're the glue that holds everything together. So I completely stand in agreement with you on that statement.
Yeah, we're women, and a lot of women that do have families. It's very we're very like relied on for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that's not what we kind of want, we want society to change and have, like um an equality between the household, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely, this is just based on research that I've read. It's there's just this instinctive like reliance on the woman and the mother to have like
Mm-hmm.
this type of role. Um, so yeah, that's another topic we can talk about is feminism, a family household. So all right, so let's talk about what are some mental health warning signs someone can recognize in a loved one that may be a sign of suicide ideation or attempting suicide.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some things that you want to pay attention to in the event of someone that could potentially be suicidal or suffering from suicidal ideation. You want to pay attention to what they say. What's coming out of their mouth? What are they saying verbally? What are those direct statements that they're making in regards to not wanting to be alive? Are they just saying, I'm done. I just want to be done. I just want to be out of here. Are they saying just directly, I want to kill myself, or indirectly, like, hey, you know what? I think people would be better off without me being around. Those are some verbal statements that you have to pay attention to. You also want to pay attention to behaviors. If you know someone that previously had a suicide attempt, you want to pay attention to what's going on. You want to also pay attention to someone that may be suffering from depression, or may be suffering, from anxiety or hopelessness. These are some things to take into consideration. Or what about some situations? What are some situations that can happen within someone's life to make them want to be, want to be suicidal or take their life? When you're looking at even around COVID, how things have taken place right now, when we're looking at how employment has shifted, when we look at how families have changed drastically because loved ones have passed away due to complications from the virus. So these are some things that you really want to, pay attention to and recognize that if someone is saying something, if their behavior so different, or if there's a situation that's taking place, you definitely want to pay attention to those factors.
Mhm. Yes, I completely agree. Um, so verbally, they would say, I want to kill myself or anything like that. What are ways like a guardian or a friend of someone who is exhibiting suicide ideation or thinking
Mhm.
of attempting, how can they approach that situation?
Absolutely. So there's a curriculum that we provide training for, and it's called QPR, and that stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. And within that training, it talks about recognizing the warning signs. That was just a little bit that I had the opportunity to uncover. But when we're talking about how a person can initiate, that conversation with an individual, ask them the question. Ask them if they're thinking about killing themselves.
Mhm,
Ask them if they're unhappy. Ask them, just take that opportunity just to open the door for dialogue. I think that's something that we miss out on. That dialogue is so important. And
mhm,
then once we get a chance to have that dialogue and allowing that person to talk freely, we have to make sure we give them that space. Right now it's about them, because the most important thing is saving a life. So once we've asked that question and allowed them to have that space to talk without us interjecting, then we definitely want to persuade them to get the help, even if that means that, hey, let me go with you to get the help. Let me help you get the help that you need. Let's persuade that person to get that assistance. And
mhm,
then once you've done that, let's refer that individual to someone that can take it a little further than what you can.
mhm,
So if that means that, hey, I'm going to go with you, I'm going to do what I call a warm handoff.
mhm.
Being in customer service, the last thing that we hate is when we're on the phone and someone just transfers a call to someone else and that person has no idea as to what the situation is.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we do a warm transfer and we contact that person that we're going to refer them to, let them know about what's going on, so then they have some kind of knowledge of what that individual is in need of. So that is definitely a great method, asking the question, persuading that individual to get the help, and referring them to someone that can provide additional assistance.
Right. What what would you say a loved one can do if that person doesn't want to seek assistance?
hmm
What can you do?
So the one thing, and especially um if you've made it to asking that question and you've persuaded them to get that help, and you get to that R part, you get to that part of referring them and they just say, well, no, hey, Vanisha, I don't want to go with you right now, I'm fine where I am. Then it doesn't hurt to at least have the information on hand in regards to the individual that you're going to refer them to, letting them know, well, hey, whenever you're ready, here's a contact person. And I'm one that's always I'm an advocate for follow up, following up with that individual to make sure, or just to check in on them for one,
Mhm,
but also to see where they are in regards to getting that additional help.
mhm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Um, so what are ways so you said remove judgment, speak gently and with like the tone of compassion. Um,
hmm
so that being said, um, is there a specific method individuals use in order to speak, like have those conversations? I believe that I forgot what the method was called, but it's a way to allow the individual to convince themselves that they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of ask them the right questions and guide the conversation in a way that they start to realize, like, oh, I do have a problem. I do need to seek out help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's motivational
Yeah.
interviewing
Yes.
that
That's
you're mentioning. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So do
And
you,
that's an interesting method because it lets that person talk, but it draws that information out from that individual. Yeah.
yes. So do you guys have training on that for individuals to join it? Is it a part of like the Office of Violence Prevention?
So no, so we do not have a training program that's specifically for motivational interviewing,
Mhm.
but there are organizations within the city that provides that training.
Okay. I'm gonna look those up and then I can share them on my Facebook page because
Absolutely.
and it's a way to speak to individuals in any type of situation. Like sometimes
Correct.
I even use it on my friends when they're having like relationship issues. I'm just like, so how do you feel about that?
Right.
um, so how um so you've spoken about like COVID-19 impacting suicide
Mhm.
rates. So like how can you speak more on that if you have any other things to add on?
Sure. Sure. So back in August, the health department did a suicide brief. We showed some information in regards to just where the rates were over the past 5 years. What's the trend? What's going on? Are we increasing or decreasing?
Mhm,
At the time, and that was towards the beginning of August. We were, pretty much on the same path as far as where we were about 4 to 5 years ago. But now there seems to be a slight uptick, in the number of suicides that are taking place. And when we're looking at what's going on with COVID, we're looking at a number of factors, and let's go back to how we recognize the signs. And when we look at certain situations that are going on, we have to look at social isolation, being quarantined. You're at home, and especially if you have to self quarantine, you're at home for 2 weeks straight, not being able to go out. That can cause a heavy issue, and especially in regards to if someone is battling with some situations. Also looking at the lack of resources. When it comes down to individuals that may have lost their job, that's a resource that's gone. That's financial security that's no longer there.
mhm,
So, there's a number of other things that's taking place that could cause someone to feel hopeless, to feel as if, hey, I just can't do it anymore. Life just isn't worth living. And so we really have to pay attention to what's going on within our communities, especially in regards to how COVID has impacted each and every household the way that it has.
mhm. Yes, I totally agree. Do you have any resources you can think of in Milwaukee that can help someone who may be presenting suicide ideation?
Yes, absolutely. So, there is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That phone number is 1-800-273-8255. That is a number that's available 24/7. A trained professional is on the other line to assist. Then also you have the Milwaukee County Crisis Text Line. That's a local number, 414-257-7222. That's a phone number that someone can call in the event of a crisis. And also, there's the crisis text line. And that's for someone that may not want to physically talk to someone on the phone, but they prefer to text. We're in a digital age now where talking on the phone really doesn't happen as much as it used to. So, texting may be a little easier and a little simpler for individuals. So the crisis text line, if you text Hope line to 741-741, that will put someone in touch with an individual that will be able to speak with them directly in regards to what they're going through. I want to add that in regards to those phone numbers and resources that I provided, that's not just for someone that's suicidal. That can be for someone that happens to be, happens to try, or that it's an individual that's trying to figure out how to respond to a suicidal situation. So they can also use those organizations and those phone numbers to reach out to get more information.
Of course. Thank you for sharing those. We're actually putting those in our comment section, so anyone can
Okay.
definitely reach out to those resources. So a question for you is, can a family send their relatives to a mental health inpatient facility if they're experiencing suicide ideation? And does it have to be a choice to go to get mental health help?
So an individual can definitely make a decision to voluntarily commit themselves. And there is also that, that situation where there's an involuntary commitment. So if a family decides to send their relative, you definitely want to pay attention to the fact that if that person voluntarily goes, if they voluntarily goes, that's great. When you're looking at an involuntary commitment, I would definitely refer that to Chapter 51, and that is actually a Milwaukee County resource. And so, that's a whole process in itself, but there's definitely those options. If someone feels the need, hey, if they decide themselves, I want to go and commit myself, I have some issues going on, definitely let them do that. But if it's an involuntary commitment, then that's where there's some additional processes and procedures that have to take place.
I see. And from what I know, there's a petition that you can sign through the Milwaukee County, and I think that is if
Mm-hmm.
the individual is a danger to themselves or the people around them, you can go online and petition to have that individual screened um, at a mental health facility for any mental health conditions that they may have. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
of course, if you do see someone that is, if they are trying to commit suicide, or even if they, from what I've told, I have a family member that has tried to do this. From what I've been told by the police, is if the individual does not say, I want to kill myself in that very moment, you don't call 911, then the police
Mm-hmm.
take them to get evaluation for any help, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if the individual has said that they want to kill themselves in the past? Can you still not call 911? It has to be like a current situation that's happening, correct?
And that's a very good question, and that takes me back to even recognizing that someone that previously had a suicide attempt, if 911 is the only option at that moment, definitely call 911.
Mhm.
I also wanted to add to the petition in regards to the information from Milwaukee County, that they mentioned that a third party petition, does not guarantee that a person will be committed for involuntary mental health treatment.
Mhm.
So that's something that they actually mentioned on their brochure. But they did mention that it should not replace 911 in an emergency.
Okay. Okay. All right. And I do know they have like a wait list for that as well. So it can take a while before um, that petition can go through and, start getting things happening. So it is important that in the meantime, you do reach out to the other resources in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Indeed.
yes. So what other resources do you know of for behavioral?
Yes, looking into the Mental Health America of Wisconsin, that's an organization that is that's very well known within the state, but also just nationwide. That is a nationwide organization. Also, they provide resources in regards to grief support groups. So that's something that's very key to look into. If, for example, if there was someone who is dealing with the loss of someone who died by suicide, there are grief support groups that are available to help individuals get through that process. Also there's Prevent Suicide Greater Milwaukee, which is a suicide coalition, that focuses on suicide. So every quarter, there's a suicide coalition quarterly meeting where individuals can come together, talk about what's going on in the community, and also talk about what they are doing in regards to suicide prevention and awareness. You also have NAMI. NAMI is a local organization that deals heavily with mental health, wellness, and suicide prevention. The Milwaukee LGBT Community Center, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And also there's a couple of websites. You have SAVE, which is Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. You have SPRC, which is the Suicide Prevention Resource Center. So there's so many avenues that are available that you can go down. So many streets you can go down, in regards to physically seeing, someone to get some information, or virtually going online and getting some information.
Right. I do know there's the Rogers Behavior Health Center. Can you speak to that?
Yes, Rogers is definitely an organization that someone, especially if someone is in need and needs that assistance, Rogers is definitely available as well.
And is there a cost for that? Do you know?
That is a good question. I'm not too sure on a cost, but I'm pretty sure if anyone has any questions pertaining to if there is a fee for the services from Rogers, I would definitely recommend reaching out to Rogers for that. In regards to the resources that I mentioned, there are no costs for those resources.
Okay. Quickly, we have a comment from Drea here. She says, because self-isolation is normalized in the US more, especially now, plus many young people are impacted by major equity concerns, what advice do you have for parents for trying to check in regularly with their children? Also, are there active mentor programs that can help?
That is a great question, Drea. Thank you. And I'm a parent myself, so sometimes I wonder if my child was dealing with something like this, how would I want to have the conversation with her? And the one thing that we have to recognize when we're talking to our children and when we're talking to young people in general, we can't just hear what they say and not pay attention to it anymore. We can't operate in that mindset of, you're so young, you're too young to go through anything like that. We can't do that as parents. We really, or just as adults in general, we have to take what our youth are saying and really take it to heart. Because I understand that our youth have access to so much more than I did. The internet is flooded with so much. That they can go right to their tablet or right to their cell phone or right to their laptop and look at anything under the sun. So we have to really pay attention to what our babies are looking at, but also recognizing what our babies are listening to and what they're saying. So as a parent, take what they're saying to heart. And really, if it means that you have to dig deeper, you have to dig deeper. Make that time to have that conversation with that young person.
I totally agree with you on that. Do you know of active mentor programs that could help with that?
So there's a number of youth-based organizations that's in the city. So, you have Urban Underground. That's a wonderful organization. Youth Justice Milwaukee. You have Running Rebels, so there's a host of organizations, that that we could talk about, but the time is of the essence. But if there's some additional information that I can send where there's a listing of youth organizations, so Drea can have that, I can definitely send that to you, Marlene, so she can have that available.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Ms. Kendrick. It was really nice having you on.
Thank you.
Amazing conversation that we had here. I'd love to have you on to talk about other public health issues that we can break down regarding violence. But yeah, I will reach out to you in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, everyone, a really riveting conversation and a very needed conversation to have during this time. So now we're going to say hello to some individuals. Marisol, she said this is such an important discussion. I agree with you, Marisol. That is really important. Drea had her question. And let me see if we have any other hellos. Charlie says that was really valuable. Thank you, Vainisha and Marlene. You're very welcome. And now we have our coronavirus video for you.
Hi, I'm Maritza and I work at Walker's Point Community Clinic. I'm a medical assistant and community health worker, and I want to show you how to wear your mask properly. This is really important so that when you cough or sneeze, particles don't come out of your mask through your nose or through your mouth, and it protects you from other people's particles. So first, whenever you're about to put a mask on, you're gonna sanitize your hands or wash your hands before you even put on the mask. You're gonna get in all those little crevices in your nails. Don't forget about the thumb and your wrists. And then you're gonna take your mask, and there's gonna be often there's a part that has a little ridge for the nose. And you're gonna grab it by the strings and place the mask on your face. Notice how the bottom is covering my chin? That's good. Notice how the top is covering my nose? Also good. If there's a part in your mask that has a little plastic part, press that down. This helps to make sure that air can't get through there. And that's it. Later on, after I do my shopping or whatever it is that I'm doing, and I want to take off my mask, I'm also going to sanitize. I'm going to clean my hands, because who knows what I touched. I'm going to grab my mask by the strings and take it off like this. This is how not to wear a mask. Wrong. Nose out, also wrong. Hanging out on the chin, not great either. Doesn't really do its thing, doesn't do its job. So we want to make sure that our entire mouth and nose is covered by the mask. And there you have it.
All right, thank you for that, Maritza Payo. Always great to see you. And now we have a civic update for you.
Did you know, America, the United States Postal Service has more than a century of experience delivering ballots through the mail, and they're ready for Election Day. Even if every American voted by mail, it wouldn't rival the surge in mail the Postal Service manages every holiday season. If you decide to mail in your ballot, it's in good hands. Learn more about mail-in voting at vote411.org. Get online, get the facts, and make your voice heard.
Thank you for that information. Always great to learn about that stuff. Now we have a census video for you guys.
There will be parties again soon, and family gatherings. There will be parades, and sporting events, and concerts. To help our communities when they come back together, respond to the 2020 census now. Spend a few minutes online today to impact the next 10 years of healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Go to 2020census.gov and respond today to make America's tomorrow brighter. It's time to shape our future.
Thank you for that. Please fill out your census and also get your absentee ballot as soon as you can. It's really important that you guys do that. But just a quick update that the deadline to complete the census has now been extended to October 31st. So you have some time to still have that completed. You can definitely go to census.gov and fill out your census there. So now we have a video with Melinda Hughes from the Benedict Center and our coworker Andrea, who is going to be interviewing Melinda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Rodriguez, and I'm the Leadership Coordinator for Southside Organizing Center. Today is our Thursday show again, and we have Melinda Hughes with us from the Sisters Diversion Program. And she's going to let us know today a little bit about what a harm reduction approach is. Thank you, Melinda.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, great to be here. Very briefly, our Sisters program works with women in the street-based sex trade, and our mission is to help them live healthier and safer lives through a harm reduction approach and a housing first approach. So housing first, we talked about a little bit at a previous show, but I wanted to talk a little bit about harm reduction so that your audience knows more about what that is and why we use it. So if you think about any behavior change, anything you're trying to do to make yourself healthier, sometimes it takes time and practice to really get that going. And before we even get started, we need information about how to approach that change. So harm reduction, what is it? We are helping clients sit down and sort of look at what drives my drug use. And then we do a sort of a pros and cons analysis of separating the benefits from using substances to the harms that are coming with the use of substances. And some people might say, well, what are the benefits? What do you mean benefits? Well, you know, people use substances partly because they feel good to use, but also because they help, you know, numb out pain or deal with stress. And Lord knows there's a lot of stress going on these days. It helps cover and mask prior trauma. So there's a lot of things that are kind of in that pros and cons analysis. We help clients then look at, you know, do I want to make any changes? And if so, why? And what would those changes be? And we encourage people to use gradual and realistic steps so that they don't set themselves up to fail right away. And all along the way, anything that we can do to help people take better care of themselves while still using is progress in the right direction. So we cheer them on and support baby steps of progress during the successes, during the failures, and everything in between. Because it's not really a failure if we learn from it, right? That helps us do better the next time. So does it even work? Does harm reduction work? It's about increasing safety and well-being, even without any demands for sobriety. Because sometimes people will say, oh, you need to stop using drugs. They're unhealthy. You need to stop using. And people don't ever even get started with that process. So the approach really starts with how can we be safer today? And you know, there's no demand for sobriety to do that. Other treatment programs are really designed for clients that are already trying to stop using substances completely. They're considered abstinence-based programming. And they're for a different stage of the process, really. So we stand alone as a program that helps clients take a look at their drug use, maybe get ready to make some changes. So it really works a lot better with folks that are not already thinking like, I want to make a whole bunch of changes. And it works well. The key thing is to have a supportive, non-judgmental approach. And that's a little snippet about what harm reduction is.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. And last week we had actually on our show Paul Krupski from the Department of Health Services, Director of Opioid Initiatives. And we had a great conversation about how we need to start looking at the whole patient and really, you know, those mistakes and those ebbs and flows. So I really do appreciate it and the approach for sure. As we're winding up, did you have any last call for actions for our viewers?
Yes, we're still doing jackets and warm footwear drive, warm shoes, warm boots, and any kind of warm jackets because it's getting cold at night.
Excellent. Can you remind our viewers how they might be able to either get those to you or maybe even leave a monetary donation?
Yes, perhaps we can do, you have the capability of maybe sharing our website link, and we have a drop-in center located within Hope House.
Beautiful.
So they would be able to drop off donations at Hope House for us at this, and just let them know that it's for the Sisters program.
Excellent. We'll definitely tag the page and the information later today. Thank you so much, Melinda. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely, Drea. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. That was really important information. I have a last minute update here. So there's going to be a winter clothing giveaway October 24th from 2 to 5 p.m. in the MCHC parking lot located at 803 West Layton Avenue. And you guys can go get pants, boots, long sleeve shirts, sweaters, coats, anything that you need right now. They are distributing warm winter clothing in infant to adult sizes. So if you really are in need, you can do that, and you can even drive by and get your flu shot at the Hyatt Pharmacy, which is right next to MCHC. Masks are required, so just a quick update on that. We will be posting this on our Facebook page as well. And now for our SOC survey promo.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take a quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.
All right. So please fill that out whenever you can. The link is in the comments section. And I will just leave you guys now with some reminders. So tomorrow we're going to have Ches Ordonez. He's from the City of Milwaukee Equal Rights Commission. And then that's going to be a really good conversation to listen to tomorrow. SOC is in solidarity with protesters and families that are protesting. And our thoughts and prayers go out to those that have been impacted by COVID-19 and those that have faced any family or friends passing away due to COVID-19. Our prayers are with you guys. And now I'm going to leave you guys with some Funder Partner thank you videos by one of our elderly community members. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday, and you tune in tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you to our sponsor, Wisconsin Voice, Community Development Block Grant, Neo Philanthropy State Infrastructure Fund, Mudman Board Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Silver Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention, Thai Foundation, City of Milwaukee Promised Son, all the faithful individuals who support SOC through the personal donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you.